Good morning, YouTube. Happiness is a state of mind. It's a belief system that you put yourself into, and the behaviors, actions, thoughts, and feelings, the life you produce, the way you react to that life, all comes back to the way you think and believe. Largely a way of perceiving and believing about the reality around you. It's not your circumstance that makes you unhappy. It's your belief about the circumstance. Have you ever heard of brain plasticity? If you haven't, I suggest Googling, looking up some TED Talks, some podcasts. There's excellent information about brain plasticity. When we talk about brain plasticity, we're talking about the capacity of the human mind to rewire itself. Now, there's so many complicated functions of just the organ itself. But the electrical system in the organ is a living, changing, evolving, biological, plastic, moldable entity. It's constantly rewiring and redirecting. It was previously thought that the adult brain was set, that you really could not rewire the adult brain, that it wasn't plastic. In the first 5 years of life, the human mind is extraordinarily plastic because life is limitless, and they came in with no comprehension of the physical world or cultural expectations or physical limits, that they don't have wings, they can't fly. They just popped their eyes open and the brain was ready to pick up any language, multiple languages, to stick things in your mouth and see what they taste like, touch, taste, sight, just compiling, downloading that networking system for what programs were going to be useful in this person's particular experience. What happens in their household? What is their language? What physical world are they maneuvering? And they're just sponges for setting up those neural networks. That's why learning foreign language is easier when you're young and more difficult when you're older. After a while, it's like any muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. Your talents, your skills, even the most basic things. That's why we need to keep our mind sharp and active and engaged. But the muscles in our tongue to roll our R's, I have such an accent, to roll our R's, those get snipped as unnecessary if that's not part of our typical language. So if you become an adult and you want to pick up Spanish or other languages that have a lot of you're going to have a harder time, because the formation of your throat and your larynx and your tongue muscles was literally trained to sort of atrophy because you're not going to be needing those. And we have so much to do in life to allow in life. Our heartbeat, our thyroid, just to keep us going, let alone what we decide with our tiny bit of our conscious mind. So much of life goes on without our awareness, and our unconscious just sort of takes care of all that. And so when the system is new and fresh, it's really prepping every bit of download it can get to set up that wiring for what's going to be necessary. We can hijack our brain. In fact, your life has hijacked your brain up and until the point at which you realize that what you are is a blank slate. You're a series of habits informed by this necessary digestion of the tactile physical world and what was implanted into you in your first 5 years primarily set the initial foundation, and then experiences that you had afterward. Well, you weren't really aware that you had so much agency, that you had so much choice in your life. The things that you did repetitively, your brain, your unconscious mind, which is responsible for about 90% of our life, it's the thing that lets us make the, 60 conscious decisions we actually get to make a day that don't just go on autopilot. Take care of itself so we can focus where we need to, because that conscious energy is very precious energy. And we don't want to be wasting it. And a lot of us waste it, and that's why we're exhausted. But our unconscious mind takes care of so much, and that's all the programming. That's all that happened to you while you were going, I don't know, life is and I'm in it. No. Your life, through no fault of your own, until you realize, is the cumulative effect of the early programs downloaded, your perceptions and beliefs based on that, your inner knowing, and then the cumulative effect of all the other programming that has been your environment, the media you take in, the people you surround yourself with, those things you do over and over and over on autopilot and you're unaware of. And many years can pass before a person even realizes that who they are is just a chance stumble. You throw something at a wall and see what sticks. Hey, there's my identity. You can change your identity at any time. Figuring out the how, it's a little more complicated, but what is important to know is that you can work to release your entrapment and rewire your brain to do things that you thought were impossible for you. You can change that through brain plasticity, the same way that a child can learn a multiple language, because their brain will just find a different way. If someone has seizures, people may think this little mumbo jumbo crap. Seizures are electrical impulse issues in the brain. There are people who have had seizures, who have had a hemispherectomy. They have had half of their brain taken out, half of the organ gone. So, on paper, they should only be able to operate half of their body. If you take out one hemisphere of the brain, it controls the sensation and operation of the opposite side of the body. And yet, the brain makes up for it. There are cases where the brain all by itself takes over the entire operation of the opposite side of the brain. And the person can walk, can speak, can do everything. They may have, a little slight eye loss or hearing loss, and if you are missing a sense, your brain compensates by excelling in your other senses. But what's really interesting is that it interprets it in the proper sense area in the brain. So sign language is interpreted as speech, as hearing in the auditory, not in the visual. Our brains are amazing and they're changeable. Our wiring is a constant evolution of reprogramming. And if you choose to accept that, well, this is just how I am, how I've always been, there's no changing anything. You're accepting a false, complete false situation, and you get what you accept. You're programming your mind constantly. And if you think by trying to consciously reprogram your mind, by trying to realize what is working for me, what is not working for me, and insert the things you listen to, the things you look up, the things you seek out, the things you fill your time with the kind of life program you would like to have operating, that you're brainwashing yourself for being somehow inauthentic. Your whole life was circumstance. Who, where, what race, what color, everything that you happened to be born gave you a certain template. And then the things that surrounded you gave you a certain template. You were being downloaded into. You have the opportunity, a wonderful, fabulous opportunity, to retrain your brain. People who have had strokes, people who are getting dementia, through proper brain rehab, can change the wiring in their brain. Certain areas pick up what other areas weren't doing. Just like anything else, you have to continually work at it. The awesome factor here is that you're limitless. The cautious factor here, that at any point, no matter how old you are, your brain is a constantly rewiring machine based on the needs of the moment. It's an incredible organ and a blessing. And you can choose what programs to download and train it to be the norm, to be habituated, to get sucked into your unconscious as, okay, this is what we do now. Also, realize that the caution with this is we are in constant evolution. Whether you like to believe it or not, it's not just that change happens. It's not just your body gets older. It's not just your surroundings come and go. It's not simply that. Literally every thought you think, every feeling you have is sending constant feedback to this organ about what is now important. What is now important? What do I need to focus on next? And so it's not coming out of you. Some of it's coming out of you, but it's more coming in how you react and perceive to it, and what you choose to spend a great deal of your time on, what you choose to focus on, what you choose to think on, what you choose to listen to, what you choose to take on, how you think about those things that surround you. How affectionate, how compassionate, how giving, how much do you focus on the positives of those people around you or their negatives? Do you gossip? All those things, every passing moment, you're being reprogrammed. And being more and more ingrained, and just like the kid who lost the capacity to roll their R's, their muscles actually restructure themselves so that they aren't able to do that because their brain is like, well, that ain't never gonna happen. The longer you remain unvigilant of your thoughts, neighbors are talking, sorry if you can overhear that, the longer you remain unvigilant of your thoughts and your actions, your reactions, ever trying to be not directing per se, but conscientious. Because in my belief, God knows better. If I knew how to run my life, I'd be in a better place. I clearly know I do not know how to drive. I do know that I'm grateful for the lessons I'm being taught and that I'm capable of changing. I just need to pay better attention, be forever a learner, be an active participant, realize that it is possible to go anywhere with this thing, and that you constantly are. Brain plasticity, neuroplasticity, it's absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to go into it anymore because I talked for 17 minutes and I got stuff to do. But this was a ramble, but please attach to nothing. Learn constantly, open your eyes, train your brain, and keep training it day after day after day after day. And don't spend so much time doing unnecessary things. And don't spend so much time, anytime, if you can help it, doing negative things. And don't spend so much time busy that you miss this life that's right here, that the only part of you that gets to appreciate your life is your unconscious. And if we're really lucky, at the end of our life, we'll get it played back for us, like, really fast, and be like, oh, that's all the stuff I did that I don't remember. So try to be here while you're doing it. And be balanced about it. Don't overwork yourself. God forbid. Take breaks, or you'll break yourself. You're allowed to have fun, or you'll forget what you used to think was fun. Love you guys. Have a good day. Download some awesome shit in your plastic brain today. Sorry for the F-bomb. Oh, you too.